Is. I'm fired up about this. I am fired up about today's show. I get the opportunity to come and talk to you people. You saw the thumbnail. Of course, that is the star of the show. But the topic today is one that is absolutely life-changing if you actually take the time to do just a little bit of effort. You really can change your life. It's kind of ironic how we've got these two things in our head, right? These things, and they enable us to look at things that as the world happens around us, but no two people see it the same way, which is kind of fascinating if you think about it. Does my I got a 5x5? Do I look all right? This camera looks really hazy. Does the camera look all right to you? Okay, I hope it does. So we got these two eyes, right? And it's we see things differently. If everybody were to look at the exact same event, right? Right now we would have 26 different views of the event. Chilly man, sir. Hey, good to see you, man. It's my friend Donnie. I love Donnie. Good to see you, brother. So everybody looks at things differently. Everybody has a different outlook. And the brain processes the things that we see. From there, it gets tainted. And it gets tainted by how the processor views what it looks at. And one of the biggest problems with people who are going through the problems that we're going through is that none of us look at things through a lens of positivity, which is understandable, right? We've talked about this ad nauseum. And we will continue to because it's the most important subject that we talk about. We are uncomfortable in our own skin, right? This is what causes us to want to drug and drink to dull our senses. What really causes that is that we're uncomfortable in our own skin, and that is caused by our outlook, by how we view our life and the events that take place in our life. Somehow I just turned my computer screen off. Let me fix that really quickly. All right, you know what it is? It's a cord. Hold on a second here. It's a running out of juice. There we go. So we live in a time right now in the world, and especially in this country, where we have a big push going on, where the world wants you to know that you're perfect just the way you are. And we've talked about this before on the lifeboat, but make no mistake. With all due respect, because I love you guys, all of you, but you're not perfect the way you are. You know, if you're sober today, you're not perfect the way you are. And if you think that you are, then you've sold yourself short. There is an absolutely unlimited amount of potential in every human being. That's no joke. There is an unlimited amount of potential, and it's almost a sin to waste it. It really is. And it's a sin that doesn't just hurt you, but it hurts the people around you. It hurts the world for that matter. If you're going to allow yourself to be stalled in the position that you're in, we talk a lot on the boat about hope. And hope is the first stage of having a shot at getting sober. If you're using and you can't seem to get off, you have to develop the hope that it's possible. That's a challenge, right? It really is. And the challenge is largely because of your outlook on life. Your outlook on life has been tainted for a very long period of time by drugs doing things to your brain, causing your receptors to crave things. And I had somebody say to me the other day, you talk a lot about receptors. Not all of us are addicted to opiates. I got news for you. You got receptors for things other than opiates. Right? It doesn't really matter what drug you're doing. With very few exceptions, they're all just touching a receptor and you're getting high on your own brain chemicals. We talk a lot about opiates because of the crisis that's going on in the world. But no, the receptors are there one way or the other. So you get this tainted outlook. And I'll give you a perfect example, people. I'm fired up to do today's show. I really am. I'm excited as hell. And I had a great day. I did. And it's been a tough week. right? Vicky lost a brother. We lost a crew member. It's just been a tough week. And it's a challenge sometimes to get out of a tough week or a tough day and get back onto the attitude necessary to have a productive day, to have a productive week, to turn a productive week into a productive month, right? And keep that stretch going until the next thing you know, you're having a productive life. A lot of people on the lifeboat lifted me up, lifted my spirits to a place that I didn't come in with the attitude that I got to go do the lifeboat. Doesn't sound bad, does it? I got to go do the lifeboat. To be really honest, it's a crap attitude. And it's the attitude that we take into almost everything we do, don't we? I got to go to work. I have to do this. I have to do that, right? I have to go pick up my daughter. Oh my God, right? My daughter's in California. Do you have any idea how happy I would be if I could just go pick up my daughter right now and the two of us could hang out for the night? But there's a difference in having that perpetual attitude of gratitude. Today, I didn't think I have to go do the lifeboat. Today, I thought I get to go do the lifeboat. I get to go hang out with a lot of people who mean an awful lot to me. And you know what? I get to do a good show. Today's going to be a good one. Honestly, I think this is one we'll talk about later. I'm fired up. It's a different attitude. And honestly, I'm blessed in that I don't spend a lot of time down here. That's for those of us that are recovering addicts. We do this number a lot, and I'm blessed that I spend a lot of time at the top end of that spectrum. I really do. It's but like everybody else, we have things that bring us down, and how we process that gets back to that look again, right? It really does. I've mentioned a comment that one of you made many times when Jared passed away, that it doesn't matter how many you save, because you don't sit and you think about that. You just always really get really dragged into the dirt and really concentrate largely on the one that got away or the one that you lost. And I kept commenting on it, but I wasn't concentrating on it. I really wasn't. And if you're a member and you saw the members video that I did last night, there a couple of you reached out and said, you look like you're going through it. And I probably was. But not because of the things that happened. You haven't heard me say this in a long time on the boat, but it's 5% versus 95%. 5% is what happens to you. And 95, thank you. Send Blue our love as well. And 95% is just how you deal with it. Truthfully, Vicky wrote one of the most beautiful posts I've ever seen in my life on the Lifeboat Facebook page. If you're not a member of the Lifeboat Facebook page, go become a member for no other reason than to read what Vicky wrote today, because she talks about all of you on the boat. And then she said some things about me as well. It was a combination of Stacy and Vicky and Buddha. There's a lot of you today that really had a profound effect. My brother Johnny, that just had a profound effect on my outlook and how I'm dealing with things. I have spent the entire day today thinking about how things are just largely nothing. They're 100% about how your outlook is. We can't control the 5%. Vicky cannot control the fact that she just lost her only sibling and her best friend on the planet. And it was heartbreaking. And I was the phone call that she made to really sort of let go. Probably because she was confident that I could have a good cry as good as anybody. But I'll tell you something, her attitude was incredible. That's got to be the lowest point. We talk about the spectrum all the time. On the one end, you got the guy cut in front of you in line at the store, and he's got 11 items in his cart instead of 10. And on the other side, you have your best friend and brother passes away. There's not much worse. That's life-changing. That's a really tough event, not something that we make up in our head. But the way that you look at it and the way that you cope with it. Vicky said to me, I'm at such peace that he is not in pain. because what he was going through was so painful. And you know what? Today he's not in pain. And she just kept saying, you know what? Today he's not in pain. And that's using an outlook. That 5% sucks. There's no getting around that. That is a crap 5%. But her 95% was heroic. And it changed her. I was on the phone with Vicky for maybe 30 minutes. And during that 30 minutes, I wish that I could have seen her. Because in my mind's eye, I had no problem seeing her. And I watched, in my mind, I watched her going from this hunched over person in pain to this person that was laughing about times that she had had with him and telling stories about, you know, some of the best events and some of the things that made her laugh. That's the 95. And you know what? Our outlook is going to determine what our life is. Right? We talk so much about hope. If you don't have hope, you have nothing. And how do you have hope that you can do this? Right? This is a tall order. This whole sobriety thing, man, this is not for the weak of heart, right? People keep saying, but you know, sobriety is not an easy thing to do. Well, I'll tell you what. There was a bumper sticker that I saw recently that said, life is difficult. Or no, I'm sorry, it said life is hard. And then below it, it says, but it's harder if you're stupid. And I got a laugh out of that. I really did. You know, it was one of those things that made me chuckle, but it also got me thinking. And you know what? Sobriety is hard. It is. But it's a lot harder if you're a jerk. It's a lot harder if your attitude is F life, F me, F my life, right? If every single little thing that happens makes you want to throw something against the wall, and I'm the king of that, by the way. My attitude has sucked. I've talked about it at length. My attitude's been awful, my patience. But I'll tell you what, I'm on a good run. I haven't been freaking out while working on watches. I haven't been losing patience as much. And it's new. It really is. I've had, for lack of a better way to put it, it was almost an epiphany. I thought to myself, boy, I preach a lot of crap that I don't really, I don't live. Hope is the number one thing that keeps people from getting sober. It's the number one thing that's keeping people from getting sober is hope. Where do we get it? Where does this hope come from? Right? It comes from the same place every single time, people. You know where hope comes from? It comes from seeing someone else do it. The things throughout history that we have watched people endure and then said, if that guy can do that. There have been books written by people from concentration camps, right, who got through things. You know, that when you read this, you think, how is it I'm pissing and moaning about the things going on in my life, right? I'm angry that I'm 7 cars back at the traffic light and there's a chance I'm going to miss it and have to sit through the next cycle. And then you read the stories of these people that endured just some of the most horrific things in the world and came out without being full of hate, right? Or miserable people. And you say, the Viktor Frankls of the world, how does that happen? Their outlook, how they choose to look at life is different. And once you do realize that it's possible to change that outlook, then it will start to happen. So I started to look at some people that have done some amazing things in spite of some tough situations and some heartbreaking situations. And I looked at some people that I am really looking up to and using as inspiration as I'm going forward. By the way, Jen, big on that list today too. Jen reached out and said just beautiful things. I didn't want to miss Jen. As a great example of this is once you understand that something can be done. We talked about this on the boat before, but if you haven't been here for a long time, or if you've been here a long time, it's been a long time since I talked about it. But for the longest period of time, science didn't believe it was humanly possible to break a 4-minute mile. To run a mile in under 4 minutes, they believed could kill you. The exertion of the amount of energy that it was going to take, they didn't think it was humanly possible to knock out a mile and to do it in under 4 minutes. And it became this benchmark, this sustainable benchmark. The record in 1913, the record was set by an American by the name of John Paul Jones. Prior to that, they didn't keep records. And the reason is because all events like that are run in meters, right? Think about it. You got the 1600 meter, you got the 1500 meter, you got the 300 meter hurdles, you got the 100 meter sprint, right? And then you got the mile. Well, it is the only non-metric competition in foot racing that they keep records on. It's the only one. And the first person to hold that record officially was John Paul Jones at 4 minutes and 14 seconds. To shave that 14 seconds off looked almost impossible. It was there for 10 years before somebody else was able to beat that record. And then for decades, people went back and forth trying unsuccessfully to beat the 4-minute mile. They came up with a concept, a pretty cool one, right? The concept of the pace setter, the rabbit, they call them very often in racing. Like if you've ever watched an Olympic event, you go, good Lord, that one guy's unbelievable. And then he just fades off and he's gone. And you think, wow, he had it. He's a rabbit. He's not there to win that race. He's there to set the pace for someone that's going to try to break a record. So if you're trying to run a 4-minute mile, they got a guy out there, or if you're trying to go below a 4-minute mile, they got a guy out there that for the first 2 miles is going to be able to keep a sub 4-minute mile. And by keeping up with him, keeping on that pace, the person that's trying to break the record knows that they're going to be good enough. That person peels off. A lot of times there'll be more than one rabbit, right? They'll have several pace setters. One keeps back, holds energy, keeps in the pack. And after the first one peels away, the second rabbit comes up and starts running. And the guy trying to break the record, he chases that person down. Well, the 4-minute mile was finally broken, right? And I want to get the year right. It was broken by Sir Roger Gilbert Bannister. He ran a 3:59.4. He didn't bust it by much, right? Very, very close to being that 4-minute mile, but he got below 4-minute mile in 1954 in Oxford, right? With pace setters and all of that, right? You know, he was able to go out and he was able to do this. And this was not possible. People had been told this was not possible, right? So runners believed it wasn't possible. Like an addict who believes you can't get sober. But do you know what happened when Roger Bannister broke that record? It was the world record for 46 days. How's that, people? It was the world record for less than 2 months. If you consider the fact that they're not running a race where they're keeping times and having official competitions every 8 days, that record fell like that. Why? Because all of a sudden, people knew it could be done. That's what happened. All of a sudden, people realized that if that 4-minute mile is nothing, it's not going to kill you. It can be done. And a whole group of athletes developed hope. You call it whatever you want. But their outlook changed. And instantly, they believed that the unbelievable, the unobtainable, was not only obtainable, but we're gonna take it one better. If that cat can do it, then we ought to be able to do it in less than 59. I'll be able to get down to 58. Once you set the bar, once you establish that it can be done, why is the lifeboat important? Not because of me. The lifeboat is important because there are so many people on this channel who have proven that the unobtainable is attainable. That for which there is no hope, there's plenty of hope. That's why this channel is awesome. That's why you people are here. And believe it, that's why I'm here. It's the hope that I get from everybody here. It's absolutely amazing. Truthfully, it is. Hold on one second. I got to make sure that this thing constantly wants to turn off. I got to learn the new hardware here, people. But I can use my hand instead of a mouse, which makes me one of the happiest people in the world. So, it gets kind of fascinating, right? In Rome, Italy, in July 7th, there was a foot race. This would be 1999. And there was a guy there named Hisham Al-Garis. This guy is from Morocco. And he had a very interesting start to his racing career. In his first huge event, where the entire world could watch and everybody was there, he was literally on the heels of the fastest man in the world. Unfortunately, he was literally on his heels. And with about 200 yards to go, he caught the man's foot. And he took a header and tumbled. And this was in his first big televised race. Imagine training your entire life for that moment where the world is going to see you and have an opportunity. From a guy that competed professionally as a skier, let me tell you that when you only have that long to show everybody what you've trained for your whole life, there's a lot of pressure, right? It can be devastating when it doesn't go well. You think, all of that time, I wasted all of that. He got a phone call from the president of Morocco. And you know what the guy said to him? The president said, "Get back up." I kid you not. He said, "You're a champion. Get back up." Now, the call was made a week after, a day after, whatever. Obviously, it wasn't made during the race. So what he was saying is, get off the deck. You fell down. Now you get back up. You're a champion. Everybody here is going to be on that situation where you catch a heel and you fall down. And we're all going to get back up. So many of us have already done it. I can list off the names like this, one right after the other, of people that have relapsed and didn't cry. They got back up. They said, "Guys, I used. And now I'm going to get clean again." It's what it's all about. And do you know what happens when one of those guys does that? Do you? Aside from the fact that it's really good for them, because every single time you get sober, every single time you get a relapse that you learn from, you're going to get that much closer to that relapse that's your last. Where the light bulb goes on and you say, "That's it, man. I am never using again," and you don't. That day's coming. But what's just as important is when one of those people gets back up and says, "I used, I relapsed, I blew 3 years of sobriety," and you didn't blow any years of sobriety. But they say things like that. And then they get back up. And every other person on the boat who has stumbled and fallen sees what is possible. Hope is now possible. The unobtainable is now attainable. Every time one of you people triumphs, you give hope to people that have never found this damn channel. You get that? You get that? I can go through now and look, and I'm getting smarter at this because I used to let somebody else do it, right? So now I'm going through and I'm really checking out all of this stuff, and I go back and I see people that are watching videos that we made a long time ago, people. Rip Curl, you're good, brother. I'm glad you're here. All right, we have to start from scratch. Rip just got here. Hi, I'm Captain Tommy Scoville. You are on the lifeboat. No, I'm just kidding. So let's get back to this Moroccan boy. Because years later, he got his moment in the sun again. And Hashim Al-Garis from Morocco was racing in Rome, Italy on July 7th, 1999. And the winner, I can't remember what they got. 50 grand, something like that. It's not a tremendous amount of money. It sounds like a lot of money, but when you compare it to other sports, it's not a ton of money. But if you broke a world record, you got another 50, which is lovely. And they had a couple of rabbits in the race for him. The guy whose heel he clipped was not a rabbit, but he was in that race. So when the last rabbit fell off, see, now you got nobody running with you. Now you go into a sprint. And you don't have to worry about somebody catching you. You don't have to be looking over your shoulder. You don't have to worry about somebody catching your heel. It's just you. The rabbits are gone, and it's you, and you're going for the finish line. Right? Now you're there. The crowd's cheering. Life is good. Only it didn't work like that. Because that guy whose foot he tripped on, he thought he might be able to break that world record too. And it's never happened like this. You can go back and look at all of them. I did. And they're unbelievable to watch. And it only takes a little over, a little less than 4 minutes to watch one of these. But you're never going to see a race any better than the July 7th, 1999 Hashim Al-Juris. If you watch this race, it's just unbelievable. Because as he's coming down the home stretch, it's pretty obvious to everybody in the building because they got these huge timers everywhere that are clipping away, right? Everybody in that arena knew that this was a world record pace. That if this cat could keep up this pace, he was going to break the world record. He's going to be the fastest 1 mile race in history. But there was a guy 6 inches off of his back. One of them was going to break that record. Amazingly, people, both of them broke that record, right? Both of them, the first and second place finisher, would have broken the world record. It's never happened before. And you know what? Who knows if it'll ever happen again. But it was amazing to watch. And a guy who fell down in his first race being filmed, who got a phone call from the king that said, "Get back up. You're a champion." He ran that race in 3 minutes, 43 seconds, 43.13, 3:43. It was impossible to break a 4-minute mile. The human body couldn't do it. That's what they told him, right? It was considered a medical fact that it was not attainable. The human body couldn't do it. But once the world realized it could be done, that 4-minute mark is now 3 minutes, 43.13 seconds. And I got news for you, people. It's going to be beaten. I promise you. It might last a year, might last 2, might last 20, might last 40. It's going to be beat. And then it's going to be beat again. Because once people realize that something can be done, there's no stopping them. Do you understand what I'm telling you? Once a human being realizes that something is attainable, nothing will stand in their way. The lifeboat is here to tell addicts what is attainable. Your problem is drinking? Do you know how many recovered? And I'm sorry, people say no one's recovered. I'm recovered. Doesn't mean I'm not a drug addict, but I'm a recovered drug addict. Yeah, I promise you, I'm not going to use again, people. They say never again. I'm saying never. Do you hear that? Hear that? I'm never using again. Plain and simple. I am the Noise Opera. Thank you, my friend. And he says, thank you all for being here tonight. Love yous. We love you too, bud. And I know I use him as an example a lot, but you want to talk about a cat that changed his outlook on life? Whew. Someday I should ask for permission to just read you our correspondence. It's personal stuff, but someday I would love to just read to you, and because you would say there's no chance in hell he wrote any of that. Lady Crispin says, want to read about a runner with an amazing life, full story of survival and hope? Look up Louis Zamperini. I believe the name of the book is, help me with it. I read it. In fact, I read it twice. Tanya D. Ensign Tanya D. You look great in green. Thank you so much. Really appreciate you. And you're going to be here in time for movie night. That's awesome. Really glad that you're here. That really is cool. I'm wishing that I could remember the name of that book. Unbreakable? No. Damn, that's going to drive me nuts. Come on, somebody help me. This is the Zamperini story. An amazing story about a runner, to be sure. It's a very inspirational story. In fact, I could do 2 lifeboats on it. It's called Devil at My Heels. Are you sure that's the name of the book? I don't think you're right. No, you're not. I'm sorry. The one I'm talking about is also this man. I'll just diverge here real quickly. What ended up happening is after running in the Olympics, this man was drafted and went into World War II, and he was in that ridiculous situation where all of those Navy people got their boat was sunk. I can't remember the name of the boat off the top of my head, but the vast majority of people were eaten by sharks before anyone. Did you just say I'm not right? No, you misunderstood me. I didn't say anything even remotely like that. Oi! Did you see that? She's an Aussie. I got an oi. I think that there may be another book written about him that highlights when he was in the water, but I could be wrong. Maybe it's called Devil at My Heels. I've been wrong before. 3 times now. Maybe 4. I don't know. So it's something like that. But yes, an absolutely amazing runner and an amazing human being. His story is so inspirational. After they got blown up, the vast majority of the people who survived were eaten by sharks. It was just god awful what they endured. And at that point, I love this boat too, Trish. I'm glad you're here. And at that point, he was captured, and what he endured at the hands of his captors. It's a story that is. I read it multiple times while I was incarcerated, and it's. But boy, I don't remember that as the name, which just tells you how dumb I am because I know Fiona's right. Hey, Joe, I am walking, trying to listen. Cold out, might have to watch in a few. You know what? Walking is a beautiful thing. We're glad that you stopped in, and we're glad that you're here. We really are. Joe's a great guy. Really, really a great guy. So, this attitude, right? People call it an attitude of gratitude. I like the idea of of a grateful attitude and an inquiring attitude, right? That's where the hope comes in. That willingness to make yourself better than you are today. How's it going to be? I don't know. I don't know. But I'm willing to learn. I'm willing to get up tomorrow morning and say, what can I do today to make it better? Observer, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. It's a very cool emoji too. Really appreciate you. Willing to improve your life. That humble inquiry. How can I make my life better? What can I do every single day to try to move just a little bit forward? Today, I decided that I was going to change my outlook. And you know what, people? I'm not making any excuses. I really am not. And in fact, part of my new outlook is I'm not going to make excuses ever again. They don't pay off. There's no payoff. At no point do you go, oh man, I am so glad I made an excuse for that one. Well, that was great, Doesn't pay off, right? But I'm not making an excuse when I tell you that it's been a rough couple of days. But that's the 5. I can't control the 5. The movie is called Unbroken. The book is called Devil at My Heels. Okay. Don't give up, don't give in. Lessons from an Extraordinary Life. Okay. The book I read said Unbroken on it, and it had pictures from the film. I've never seen the movie. At that point in my life, I was done with cinema. So that was, but yeah, I knew it said Unbroken on the book. See that? Lady Crispin and I were both correct. Oi! So we'll go back to 3 times that I've been incorrect. So having that humble inquiry, right? There's a push, people. There's the self-improvement kick. I had somebody in an email the other day say that the Lifeboat is their favorite self-improvement channel. And while I really appreciate the compliment, I threw up a little bit in my mouth because I don't really want to think that we're a part of that. It's definitely about living your best life, right? But the self-improvement, positive thoughts, positive energy, positive progression, I love it, Jen. I really do. But I don't like the push of you're perfect just the way you are, right? You don't have to change. You just have to be, you're great. You're great. but you're not perfect, right? You're certainly not perfect the way you are. The idea should be more perfect, right? Every day we should be striving to be just a little bit more perfect. And with this, this craze to fix the world, if you want to make the world a better place, God bless you, man. If you want to solve the problems of the world, God bless you. I got a big one I'm fighting. I get it. But you know what? My car's a mess. I got a Toyota Prius, and the inside of it looks like I let Squirrel use it as a litter box, because I've been concentrating so much on so many things, right? That part has not gotten any love. And I think that for me, I'm not judging anybody else. This is about me. But I don't know that I can be concentrating on, fixing the world if my car's a mess. I don't know if I could be concentrating on fixing the world if my room's a mess. Concentrating on fixing the world if your bed's not made, right? All of these things make sense to me from someone trying to remain sober. Get your house in order, right? Every single day, somebody will write in and they will ask me about steps. Do we have 10 steps, 12 steps? Number one, if you're working the 12-step programs, God bless you. Right? God bless you. I'm glad. I really am. I don't care how you get sober. Just get sober. And if the 12 steps work for you, that's fantastic. The steps that I took, I've talked about this a lot on the boat. If you're brand new and you haven't heard this, I'm going to go over this because so many people ask. Monk, good to see you, bud. Glad that you're here. Did I make my bed today? Yes, I did. Yes, I did. I made my bed today. And I'll be honest. The morning that I got the email about Jared, I did not. And you know what? It's easy to say, well, you know what, man, this is too tough a day to do that. But that's a domino for me. And it's going to go tick, 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 tick. And it's going to disrupt everything else. My attitude for the day, all of that, it starts with that little insignificant thing of making the bed. It says, I'm not Tommy the junkie. Right? I'm Captain Tommy Scoville. I'm going to make my bed. Right? I'm going to get up. Someone just said it. I made my bed, it would pass. I did make my bed, it would pass inspection. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Right? No, it would. My bed is perfectly made today. It would definitely not be. You could be proud of the job I did on my bed. However, if you saw my car, you wouldn't be. I'm gonna make you a promise. It's not gonna look like that after today. Right? This is the last day of my car being a mess. So the 3 steps that I took were really basic. A gentleman whose name you would have such a struggle with, we just call him Q. And Q said, if you want to change your life, you can do it in 3 steps. And I had been using opiates for a really, really, really long time. So the 3 steps, I had tried the 12 and it didn't work. And I had tried a lot of other stuff and it didn't work. So I was willing to try anything. And Q was one of the most intelligent people that I had ever met. And he had read more books than probably anyone I had met in my life. At any given time, he was reading 3 of them. He had this rotation thing he would do so he wouldn't get bored. But, in the course of a week, he would read 6 books. And so he's just a really, really incredible guy. And he said to me, make a list of every single reason that you should quit doing dope. Because he, unlike a lot of people, realized that, you know what? In the beginning, sometimes you can't do it for yourself. Every other person you come across in this kind of arena where they talk about getting sober will say, you got to do it for you. You can't do it for anybody else. I beg to differ. You're going to stay sober for you. But see, I was a worthless piece of crap. I was a thief. I was a junkie. I was a liar. So I wasn't going to be able to go, I'm going to fight for Tommy. That didn't work. It had never worked before. So he had me make a list of the people that I would fight for. I didn't want my daughter to grow up with a father in prison who was addicted to dope. I wanted to get out of prison and never go back. I didn't want to disappoint my father ever again. I didn't want to disappoint my mom who never gave up on me, or my sister or my brother. Those people were worth saving in my head. I wasn't yet. So I wrote down those lists. And that was the first step. And then the second step, he said, I want you to make a list of all of the things about you that make you who you are. Like, if someone were to describe you, 3 friends in a room who know you better than anyone in the world, they really know you, and you're not there, and someone said, hey, tell me about Tommy. He's not going to hear this, but I want to know the truth. What's this guy like? And I told the story 100 times. I went back, 10, 15 minutes later, and I was like, all right, yeah, I got that list done. And he's like, you don't. No, you don't. This is going to take a lot longer than 15 minutes. This is a process that's going to hurt. And I'll tell you what, it did. It hurt. Because the first thing that was on the list was liar. That was the first thing I wrote down. I realized that if the 3 people who knew me better than anyone in the world, or if there's no one there, if you've been snowing people so well that no one knows you, what would the truth be about you? What if God were writing it down? What if somebody that could see everything you've ever done was writing it down? Well, the first thing on that list would be liar. And I went down from there. Cheat, thief, right? Unreliable. It was not a fun list. It wasn't. It was god-awful. It really was. And then when I went back to him, and the guy, he's a wise guy. He really is. Because when I went back to him, I was at a low that I can't explain. Sarah, you know what? To say liar, I'm guilty, means that you're at least in the process of getting out of it, right? Most liars don't admit they're liars. That's kind of the defining characteristic of being a liar. But I'm not one today. That was one of the first things that I had to change. You made it to the lifeboat. I'm glad that you're here. Good to see you. So I walked into his cell about as low as anyone's ever been. I handed him 2 pages of things written down about who I was. Just absolutely awful. We used to say liar head, but liar, liar, pants on fire will work too. I said, this is who I am. He said, so now what I want you to do is I want you to go back in there and I want you to write down what you wish those 3 people would say about you. If you could control what the 3 people who know you best in the world would say about you, what would it be? If the all-knowing, how would you want to be described by someone that can see virtually everything that you do? So I wrote down honest, right? I wanted to be reliable. I wanted to be one of those people that people could look to for help. I wanted to be one of those people that helped people instead of hurt them. I wanted to be a lot of things. And I made that list. And that was step 3. It was a 3-step program. That was it. And from that day forward, I was sober. Now, was I happy and kicking my heels up? No, I wasn't. I was miserable. I really was. But then there were other things that he had in place. And one of them was to live as if. Not fake it till you make it, right? Faking is what the first page Tommy was. I was a fake. That was on the list. I faked who I was to everybody. So 3rd page Tommy wasn't going to fake it till he made it. But I lived as if. I lived as if I was happy. I lived as if I was healthy. I got up and I made my bed. I wasn't happy about it. Right? I took no joy in it. In fact, I took no joy in anything. I was suffering from anhedonia, which is the inability to take joy in anything. And it happens. It's going to happen to a lot of you. When you get sober, your brain isn't ready to fire off any chemicals, right? What you have to understand is what's getting you high when you take drugs are feel-good chemicals that were put there for a purpose. We misuse them, right? Instead of getting that nice, warm, fuzzy feeling inside when you rub a cat, we do a line of cocaine. Instead of getting that unbelievable blast of joy that you get when they hand you your baby for the first time, in the delivery room, you do a shot of methamphetamine, and you actually get more of that chemical released from that shot of meth by about 4 times. Boy, that's not right, is it? But that's what we do. And we do it for so long that when we turn off the drug flow, all of a sudden it's like, boyfriend said NAFTA discovered I missed that. I am the Noise Opera. Thank you, my friend. Oh. Yeah, sorry. It's cool having cameras set up virtually everywhere. It really is. But it's also a bit overwhelming. Not cameras, but screens. I can read what you people write in about 10 places now. Slight exaggeration. I should not ever do that. If you've been on a boat for any length of time, you know that that's a really bad idea. You always want to stay on camera, right? That is exactly what you want to do. But I lived as if, suffering through anhedonia is real. When you turn off the flow of drugs, your brain turns off the flow of chemicals that make you feel good. And your brain can literally get to a point where it goes like this. I'm not sending down any dopamine. I'm not sending down any serotonin. I'm not sending down any oxytocin. I'm not sending down anything. If anyone knew what I was dealing with tonight, they would laugh at my stupid jokes. I'm ready to laugh at your stupid jokes. And if you're dealing with something that's too much to deal with tonight, then reach out to one of us and tell us. Please, don't suffer in silence. Right? Number 1 rule on the boat. We don't suffer in silence. That kills people. Full of Hope says, years later, I still cannot feel joy. I have broke my serotonin and dopamine. It happens. It absolutely does. Here's the thing. And I would say this to everybody. A lot of this depends on what you were using. It happens most often with people who recover from years and years of use of methamphetamine. That's the one that really, really causes anhedonia worse than anything. But that's a reality. She's not saying something for the sake of saying it. That's real. That happens. Now, fortunately, and send me an email and break down your drug use for me, please. Tell me everything you were using, length of time, all of that, and break it down for me in an email. Because there are medical things being done now. We are getting to a place that we are now able to help people with anhedonia. When the brain doesn't want to give you the chemicals that it should, there is absolutely things that can be done now to help that. And a lot of it just depends on what the drug of choice is. And one of the things that I am very, very serious about here. No, it's not. I've been sober 30 years and I'm not as witty. I don't laugh like I used to. But I deal with reality and I fight the fight sober. I would choose that any day. I would too. But you absolutely can get to a point where it comes back. You may not be as witty. I mean, you definitely can dull yourself. There's a lot of truth to the fact that, long, prolonged exposure to the stuff that is in dope really does damage. There's no getting around that. There isn't. Alcohol. I mean, you can drink to the point with, you can drink to the point where you get wet brain. It's a term that's used often, and it you literally get water on the brain, and at that point, most assuredly, there's no coming back. You can damage yourself beyond repair. But I'll tell you something. If for the first 5 years, I really was in bad shape. A great crew needs a great captain, no cap. You don't like the cap? You don't like the cap? Well, I'm going to tell you something. It's not coming off. And I'll tell you why. Because this channel was called The Tommy Scoville Show. The Tommy Scoville Show. I hated the name. I told everybody involved from the very first day that I didn't like the name. I didn't want the show to be about me. So we basically gave people no cap means no lie. Oh, okay. I think he meant no cap, like not lying. Okay, I got you. Well, the reason I said this is I get 3 emails a week of people that tell me to take the hat off. No lie. And I didn't know that no cap is slang for not lying. Does everybody know that but me? Now I feel stupid. Is this new? I didn't figure that there could be a word for lying that I didn't know. I mean, honestly, that really is. Hey, thank you, Noise Opera. That is awfully kind. It's a Gen Z thing. Well, that would make sense then. And Johnny says your older brother knew. Well, you have a larger group of people that can keep you hip on all things. What did you say? Did you say Z? Generation Z? You know what? I honestly need help with all of the generation stuff. I know that I drank a fifth of blue Kool-Aid today. That's funny. That's a tribute to Mark. That's good stuff. I think that he would get a kick out of that. Kiss Freak. I think you mean Lord Kiss Freak. Whether you realize it or not, he is actually a landowner in Scotland. Much like Lady Fiona Crispin, you need to refer to him as Lord. He is Lord Kiss Freak now. Doodlebug. Yep. So for those of you who don't know the Doodlebug reference, love you, Brandon. Good to see you, bud. Doodlebug is a crew member on the boat. I have a great picture. I almost used it for a thumbnail. I got a great picture of him. His daughter was helping him with a little bit of hair and makeup kind of stuff. I thought that would make a really good thumbnail, but he threatened to have me killed if I did it. So, but Buddha, good guy. I love everybody on this boat. People, there's gonna be tough times. There's gonna be some anhedonia, and I promise you there is. For the first 5 years, I didn't think I was gonna feel anything ever again. I didn't. And for me, more research, into my particular affliction, which was opiate use disorder. There's a reason that there's, terms like opiate use disorder. Cultivate kindness. You're in my prayers. And that cat will come back. You're going to find that cat. I have faith. I really do. I have faith. The cat's going to come back. So I had opiate use disorder, and you could call me an opiate addict. But opiate use disorder is when you mess up so badly and you do it for so long that basically the receptors get damaged. Is not the right term, but they take on a life of their own. And if they're not fed, if they're not getting it, then they're going to make you miserable. And I had a doctor who was very intelligent that said, I think I'd like to try you on Suboxone. And I said, I have been sober for 5 years. A little late for the Suboxone, don't you think? And they said, no, a very small amount of that will coat the receptors. And when that happens, what ends up happening is that all of a sudden those receptors aren't angry. And they don't need to be satiated. And now, some normal chemical reaction stuff will happen. And I'll be honest, if I could tell you the way I talked to this doctor, I was not a very nice person yet. I really had not shunned off prison. I was still, there was still quite a bit of that attitude. I was, very fresh out and very, very unhappy. Observer, thank you again. I really appreciate that. And I gave it a try. And there are people that will badmouth buprenorphine, and they will say you're trading one drug for another, and that stuff is evil, and all of that. And you know what? I'll just block you. I'm not going to have anybody say anything here that is going to keep somebody from doing something that can save their life. And at this point right now, if Jared's family had the opportunity to let him trade one drug for the other, I bet they would have chosen Suboxone or buprenorphine or Subutex or any of those. So it's one of those things that if you're new to the boat, we don't have that debate here. You can try, but it'll be over for you really quickly. Just not doing it anymore. I used to have the debate. I used to try to enlighten people. It's an opinion thing. You can have it. I have no problem with anybody having your own opinion. But if your opinion keeps an addict from trying something that can get them off of fentanyl, then I'm going to kick you off this channel. That's just the way it is. And I hope you guys get it. I'm not trying to be a jerk. I'm not trying to be a tyrant, a dictator, but we're into the life and death stuff here now. I have been sober 14 and a half years. I have just started Suboxone thanks to Tommy, and I feel much better. I wasn't going to use you as an example ever. I don't do that. I promise you people, I do not do that. But Heather is a perfect example of somebody that, had anhedonia, that suffered from it, and was willing to try having the receptors coated after 14 and a half years. This woman's been sober two times as long as I have. But it worked, which is pretty amazing, right? It's beautiful stuff. When buprenorphine was invented, John Lewis, the person that synthesized it, had absolutely no idea what they were going to use it for. The idea was there are women who can't have any morphine products, nothing like that, right? They have the inability to take that. And for that reason, it got to a situation that they wanted to have something to give to women who had, pain during pregnancy. That was really what he was shooting for when he came up with the substance. Years went by before they realized what could be done with it, and they started to mix that in with Narcan, with naloxone. And you know what? People misunderstand why that is done. Well, I could do a show on that at some point. I won't do it tonight because it's a long topic. But the reason, people say they put Suboxone in, and then if you mix other drugs, it makes you, any other opiates, it's going to make you sick. The fact that if you do the same thing with Subutex, it's going to happen. The buprenorphine is what does that. It's the stronger of the opiate. It plays king of the hill. So you got the receptor, and you got one, opiate or opioid that latches onto that receptor, and the buprenorphine comes by, sweeps it off. And when that happens, since buprenorphine really doesn't get you high, all of a sudden, all of the stuff that was getting you high and making you feel good gets taken away all at once, and you go into that precipitative withdrawal that everybody talks about that is just such a nightmare. I wanted to hold 1 second. This, people, if you've not seen this before, this is the participation trophy on the lifeboat. And this gets popped out every once in a while when someone does something that just, gets the attention, and you just want to say, you know what, this one's for you. And it's going to a lot of people today. It really is. Number one, all of the people that picked me up in the last 24 hours. Really, really unbelievable. It's to all of you, I really appreciate it. My head's in a much better place, and it's you. There's no question you did that. And this is for M. Hunt, right? Because M. Hunt didn't just get up off the deck without a phone call from the king. But he gave a bunch of other people a roadmap to how you do it, to how you get up and you start fighting and you become a hero in my book. And this is also to Brandon Galloway, who did the same thing. And Brandon is at the past the 1 month mark, which is, I don't know, it's good stuff, man. It really is. It's good stuff. And you know what, people? We're hope dealers. All right? That's what we do. We sling hope. And we're not going to stop. I promise you. Ain't going to be any stopping, right? We will be back. And did somebody, I didn't see one comment about Squirrel being in the thumbnail. Squirrel made a second appearance on the lifeboat. And nobody, right? I cannot believe I didn't get one person to say something about Squirrel. Maybe you said it and I missed it. That could be the case. I don't know. But I will be back. Same Squirrel time, same Squirrel channel. You know what? Actually, I think I might be back on Friday. We are off tomorrow night and the next night. There may be some members only stuff, but I do take 2 days off in the week. So I will be back on Friday. Same squirrel time, same squirrel channel. Stephanie Munoz, so good to see you. Hope dealers. Yep, that's what we are. We're hope dealers, every one of us. So between now and then, reach out and try to save somebody. And that is a cat in a basket. Good night, everybody. We love you.